It's a big-time situation that we have here in this country. And as we scroll down here and we take a look, there is a list that dates back to the very first fire they were tracking on 1/11/21. Guys, this is almost at 100. This would be the 98th, well, actually the 97th, right there on the list as of 6/13. Per this list, so we are at almost 100 places that have been burnt to the ground in terms of our food in this country. This isn't a coincidence. There's something major going on.
New information about a fire near the Waupaca and Portage County lines. According to the Waupaca Fire Chief, no injuries have been reported.
The fire started around 9 this morning at a food plant in Belmont. Best Foods is a food processing plant that makes frozen pizzas. It's located south of Amherst and west of Waupaca. That's where we find News Channel 7's Tony Langfellow. Tony, is that fire still burning right now?
Cassandra, no, right now the fire is under control, but the building is still smoldering. Crews left the scene about an hour ago, and they say it was an accidental fire. I spoke with the Waupaca area fire chief, and he says at around 9 this morning, employees were doing some maintenance on an air compressor room. He says sparks got into a wall, and that's where the fire started. The employees tried putting out a small fire, but were unable to do so. It ended up spreading to the roof and a newer part of the building, quickly getting out of control.
Smoke, flames going through the roof lines. So at that point in time, we tried getting into the inside of the interior of the building, and the heat and the smoke was so intense that we had to back out, and we had a defensive fire all day long.
The fire chief says there is no safety threat to the community right now. The owners did arrive at one point to collect some items. Now, there are no injuries, and the building is a total loss.
Minnesota egg producer is evaluating the damage left behind from this massive fire. It happened late last night in Howard Lake, straight west of the cities on Highway 12. Our Heidi Wigdahl traveled to Howard Lake, where state officials are trying to determine how it started.
Cleanup is underway at Forceman Farms in Howard Lake after a massive fire on Saturday night. About 19 hours later, you can still see a bit of smoke from the road.
This is where a poultry building once stood on the farm, which is a large egg producer in the state. Crews responded to the fire off Highway 12 around 10 p.m.
Waverly and Cokato.
A lot of sirens, a lot of noise, a lot of commotion. There's one of the fire chiefs going down the road.
Eddie Olson was 6 miles away in Cokato, having a bonfire in his backyard.
I'm a Skywarn spotter, so I do a lot of radio communications and stuff, and this is one of maybe 50 radios I have, so I just grabbed one and heard that they were dispatching all the departments, so I knew it was big.
Eddie grabbed his radio and arrived at the farm to find it in flames.
Structure fire, mutual aid.
It was incredibly huge.
Multiple fire departments were on scene to help fight the fire. The Wright County Sheriff's Office estimates about 200,000 chickens were inside the building. A Forceman Farms spokesperson says they're not sure how many chickens were killed in the fire. They're estimating anywhere from tens of thousands into a couple hundreds of thousands.
It's a lot of chickens. It's a hit to the egg market. It's people's jobs. It's a local community, so anytime anything big like that happens, it's not good.
Forceman Farms sells over 3 million eggs per day to some of the nation's largest retailers.
All right, thanks, Tyne. Last week at this time, we were talking about this, a fire at the JBS beef processing facility in Grand Island, Nebraska. Officials now saying the fire was caused by a heater in the rendering area of the plant. That heater was near the roof of the building. It's used to dry out animal materials such as bones and marrow. It got too hot, and that's when the fire started. Since it vents to the roof, the fire spread there. Now, the fire resulted in production at the facility being stopped for about a day. The plant has a daily slaughter capacity of 6,000 head. That's about 5% of the daily slaughter in the nation.
Learned that at the JBS meatpacking plant in Green Bay, a fire occurred this evening. Officials say they responded to the fire around 6:30 p.m. Upon arrival, firefighters noticed flames on the roof. Crews were able to control the fire within 15 minutes. No injuries were reported. However, around $30,000 in damages were reported.
huge fire at a food processing plant. This is for Taylor Farms. And right now there are concerns about a huge plume of ammonia coming from this area. And they have an evacuation in the immediate area as well as a shelter in place all the way out to Highway 68. Now emergency authorities are warning us that they could end up closing down parts of 101 in Salinas. Again, this is in Monterey County. This food processing plant went up late last night, and it's just grown. It looks like it is a total loss right now. We've seen several roofs collapsing. This was in a cold storage processing plant where apparently a welding project sparked a fire in a wall, and that eventually spread to the attic of this huge facility.